ball player. He's got great effort and energy, and so it's a joy to coach him every day.
You see something like that eventually rubbing off, or maybe does rub off on your guys?
Well, I mean, I think it is. I mean, I thought Caleb might have played his with the highest effort maybe he's ever played with in a college game today. I thought he was incredible. And maybe the shooting numbers or the don't show it, but I thought he really played extremely hard and pretty unselfish on the offensive end. So, I mean, I think it is rubbing off. You got him. Pella's always played hard. Kylan has the potential to play hard, and is learning how to play harder. Jaden plays hard. KJ plays extremely hard. I mean, I think that core group of guys is a high effort group, and yeah, I do definitely think it is infectious. And what it does, it establishes a standard. This is a standard with which we play, and other guys got to get themselves to that standard.
Yeah, you talk about Caleb Love. I mean, that's an interesting comment from Tommy that he played at the highest level that he's ever played, and it was reflective in the line score for the senior Caleb Love. Again, did not shoot the ball well, made just 1 of 5 threes, 2 of 6 shooting from the floor, but 9.6 rebounds and more importantly, 5 assists. So again, doing things in other aspects of the game to help his team was Kashad Johnson in that ball game. And so the Wildcats beat the Southern Jaguars 97 to 59, and they will take on the Belmont Bruins. Just the second all-time meeting between these two teams is coming up tonight with tip-off at 9 o'clock. We, again, are at Illegal Pete's. We are streaming currently. We've had a little bit of an issue with our stream already tonight. I'm not sure if it might be because of the music in the background. Sometimes streamers don't like that kind of thing, so I think they might have taken us down because the DJ is doing his thing out here. So we'll see if we can keep bringing you the stream tonight on the video side. We are streaming on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitch. That's at Wildcats Radio 1290. We are on Twitter at Wildcats 1290. So you can check us out on any of those locations. You can listen to the show via our website and our app at Wildcats Radio 1290. Alexa's got us, so just tell Alexa to put on Wildcats Radio 1290, and she'll shoot us up, and you can hear us there as well. We're also available on the iHeartRadio app, and we thank you for streaming with us. Let's get a break in here. We'll come back. Kelvin Efine will join us, and much more. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show, taking you up to the Wildcats in Belmont from Illegal Pete's here, Bear Down Friday with J.W. Madden. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Advanced Auto Care, Crest Insurance Group, Desert Diamond Casinos, First Chiropractic, Frog in Firkin, Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates, Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating and Plumbing, the Polston Results Team with Keller Williams, Southern Arizona, Royal GMC Buick and Cadillac, Royal Kia, Royal Jaguar Land Rover, the Window Depot.
My heat.
Arizona men's basketball. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Coming to you live from Illegal Pete's here down on University Boulevard, the corner of University and Tyndall. It is Bear Down Friday, the final Bear Down Friday of this fall season, and we're looking forward to the band. We'll see if we can get some audio on the band when they come through here at 6 and get the pep rally going over there. I'm understanding that Dave Hickey is going to be one of the speakers down here tonight. We'll see who else shows up. Maybe they'll bring a few of the senior football players down here as well for the program. It's going to be an exciting weekend of football for your Arizona Wildcats. We want to hear from you as well. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 if you want to jump on and talk Arizona football or Arizona basketball. Give your early season thoughts on what you're seeing from this Wildcat football team. And we want to bring in right now the third member of our program, Kelvin Ifan, the captain, joins us. And Kelvin, 2 home games. Well, first of all, I mean, you can't ask for a more exciting weekend here in Tucson. You've got a pair of basketball games for the Arizona basketball team, ranked 3rd now in the country, sandwiched around a pretty big football game, Senior Day, with Arizona playing for a chance still to go to the Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas. It does not get better than this weekend in Tucson.
No, it don't.
On Friday, we've got the pep rally coming up in about 24 minutes. Folks are starting to gather down here. Huge football game coming up on Saturday afternoon. But before we get to that, we've got some basketball here tonight in Tucson as the Wildcats taking on the Belmont Bruins. With J.W. Madden, Kelvin Efon, I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
The Meridian Wealth Management Countdown to Tip-Off Show continues on the home of Arizona men's basketball, Wildcats Radio 1290. Wildcats Radio 1290. Our first look at today's Arizona men's basketball game is brought to you by The Window Depot. Lowest prices and biggest inventory. Shop thewindow.depot.com.
It is Arizona and Belmont tonight here at McKale Center at 9 p.m. tip-off as the Wildcats looking to win their fourth game of the season. Belmont comes into tonight's ball game. They played a Division III team earlier this week, Berry College, so coming in off a 93-59 win over Berry are the Belmont Bruins, and the Wildcats, of course, enter this game at 3-0. Belmont at 2-1. The Wildcats number 3 in the country, coming off wins over Morgan State, Duke, and Southern. And Tommy Lloyd, when you talk about this team, we mentioned earlier in the week, and it just kind of bears to mention again the fact that you've got a bunch of players, in fact, 7 players that have scored are scoring in double figures right now for this Arizona Wildcats team. And that just speaks to the importance of the depth and balance that Tommy Lloyd has with this program.
I always like being balanced, and you know, I mean, I don't really, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, of course, you look at some individual stats because they tell a little bit of parts of a story, but the main one is I look at our team stats, and I want to know how many points it says under Arizona, and then I try to figure out how we're getting those points. So, you know, I don't really care who they come from or how we get them, but you know, I mean, we're a passing program. We're an attack the paint program, and we're a pressure defensive program. I mean, those three principles are things we hang our hat on.
You know, DK, hero ball is a term you hear a lot of in basketball, and the best basketball teams I've seen in college over my time watching are the teams that have multiple players who can take on the role of getting a bucket if a team really needs it. Yeah. And at the same time, nobody on the roster is looking to be the hero on any particular play. So guys who aren't hunting their shots, but multiple players who are capable of filling in that role, late shot clock or those situations where the offense is getting bogged down. And that's exactly what this Arizona Wildcats team looks like early in the season. Just a bunch of guys looking to share the ball, and then a couple of guys who can get their own, if it's a step back three from Boswell or whatnot. So definitely the perfect mix of players on this year's team.
And I'll correct myself. I said 7 players scoring in double figures. It's actually 6, led by Kashad Johnson. We talked about him in the first segment, averaging 15 points per ball game. Kylan Boswell at 13. Pella Larson at 13. Umar Balo at 12. Caleb Love at 11. And then you've got Moteus Krivas averaging 10 points a game. But right underneath that is Philip Borvichin, who's also averaging 10 points per ball game. So really it is 7. Philly's at 9.5, but I like to
you can round up.
Yeah, I like to
you can round up as fine.
Round up, so we'll call it 7 there with Philly coming then there as well. And speaking of Philip Borvichin, getting meaningful minutes and expanding on how I should say Tommy Lloyd expanding on how his Euros need those reps this early part of the season.
Well, I think it's really going to help them. These European guys, there's a little bit of adjustment. Playing in a game like this, where the team's extremely quick and aggressive to the ball. Maybe they haven't played against that much, and so and just the nuances of our game are a little different than theirs. Whether it's lane violations or how they referee the post or how they referee when you get a rebound, and so they have to learn those, because that was a really good officiating crew out there today. I mean, that's a couple of those guys are Final Four championship game level officials, and so our guys need to make the adjustment on that, and especially those international guys that don't have much experience playing at this level.
Yeah, Tommy mentioned the officials for that game, and that's what I thought when I walked in the building on Monday night. I said to myself, man, we got some pros, working this game. Vern Harris was on that ball game the other night. I mean, there was some, when you talk about dudes in terms of players, there were some dudes in terms of the officials working that game here against the Southern Jaguars the other night. I mean, guys that, like Tommy said, have been and refereed at a high level. Vern Harris, Brooks Wells, Kip Kissinger. Those are some guys that know how to call a college basketball game, and it was good to see that early in the season here at McKale Center. You don't always get that high level of officiating crew this early in a campaign. When you look at the fact that, again, Caleb Love, and we put out the poll earlier this week, like who would be the first one to score 20 points for this team? Caleb Love, many people think he's going to be that guy. Tommy said that he thought it was the game in which he had maybe exuded his most effort in his entire career, and he's really fitting in nicely in the first 3 games he's played here at Arizona.
Just his willingness to learn. And, listen, these seasons are marathons. And I don't think Caleb is going to accomplish his goals at Arizona in the first handful of games. And so we're building. And definitely, I'm getting more comfortable coaching him. He's getting more comfortable playing for us. And, he and I had a great meeting today. And I got nothing but positive things to say and how he's contributing to this program.
In terms of another guard that we've seen a little bit of, Jaden Bradley, and I mentioned last week that I'm still trying to kind of figure out exactly where Jaden fits in this whole scheme of things. He struggled to shoot the ball, just 5 of 16, shooting 31% right now from the floor, playing about 19 minutes per ball game. And Tommy spoke on Jaden and what he thinks he needs to do kind of to work on in this early part of the season to try to find himself maybe a few more minutes in this rotation.
Jaden's a good player. I think Jaden is going to make a big jump. I think Jaden's got a lot of little things he's going to be able to improve on in these next couple weeks that I'm excited about. And I think it's going to kind of help bump us up another notch. And, Jaden's one of those guys. He's he's a team player through and through. So he sacrifices a lot of maybe some individual things he could do for the team. And now he's got to find a little bit of a balance of maybe doing some things, for himself, to kind of get that confidence maybe that he'll need to deliver. But I love having him on our team. I feel 100% comfortable when he's on the court.
All right, that is the head coach, Tommy Lloyd, and that is our opening observations of Arizona and Belmont.
That's been our first look at today's Arizona men's basketball game. Brought to you by The Window Depot. Lowest prices and biggest inventory. Shop thewindownedepot.com.
Arizona and Belmont tonight, 9 o'clock tip-off. We'll have you right up until 8 o'clock when the network takes over as the sun goes down here in southern Arizona. First time we've been out here we've been out here till about 6. And so we generally get to see the parade just as it's beginning and our show is ending, but this will be one of those days we'll actually get a chance to experience the parade and the pep rally as it's happening down on this final Bear Down Friday. All right, how about we let you know a little bit more about one of your favorite Arizona Wildcats.
Our pregame show Spotlight on a Cat is brought to you by O'Reilly Chevrolet. Get more with O'Reilly Chevrolet.
Caleb quickly down, bounce pass inside, back to Keyshawn Johnson, who slams it home. Out to Boswell, bounce pass to Johnson, Keyshawn down the lane and slam it home. Bounce pass Ballo wide of the lane, double teamed out to Borovichinen. Looked at the three, didn't take it, nice pump fake. No look, Keyshawn, slam it home. Krivas the rebound, out to Love, lead down to Johnson, Keyshawn, slam it home.
And I bet you probably thought our Spotlight on a Cat was going to be about one Keyshawn Johnson tonight, who had a dunk party Monday. But you would be wrong. Our Spotlight on a Cat is actually going to be your senior guard from Nacka, Sweden, Pelle Larsson, 6'6", 215-pounder. But we played that series of highlights from Keyshawn Johnson because Pelle really loves the energy that Keyshawn has brought to this team in just his first 3 games wearing a Wildcat uniform.
No, 100%. Everyone has a lot of respect for him. He plays really hard, so that it's going to affect everyone on the team to do the same.
Game recognizes game, right, DK?
Yeah.
And Pelle has played hard since he started but since he first picked up a basketball. So, I mean, clearly that's a high praise for a guy like Pella to talk about another guy playing hard, because that's what Pella does.
Yeah, and we mentioned the balance that we're seeing offensively from these Arizona Wildcats, and Pella Larson, in fact, is very happy with the array of guys that can score the basketball for this Arizona Wildcats offense.
Not surprising, team success leads to individual success, and everyone has been working really hard. And in practice, we have a lot of guys having a good day any day, so it's just really good to hear.
You guys went from 12 to 3. Any thoughts on just the rank on the polls rankings?
We went to 12 from 3. That's
Not a big deal. A big deal. Nice thing.
Yeah, we've only played 3 games, so stuff like that usually doesn't matter until you get to the tournament, I think.
What's the key to being able to still draw a charge with the new block charge rules that are in place this year?
I mean, it's way different when you're off the ball, but on the ball it's still kind of the same thing, I feel like, and I don't think they're trying to take that out of the game. I think that's a good part of the game. So, and that's mostly what I do when I take a charge. It could be dangerous coming off the ball and trying to take a charge on someone. People are high up in the air, so I think it's a good thing.
But when you do take one, is there something you try to do to minimize the damage to yourself as you're getting knocked backwards?
No, I'm not too worried about myself. Just if the other guy is flying in, maybe he will land and get hurt. I don't want that. I'm never trying to hurt anyone, and I just try to take it in the chest and fall back on my.
How do you feel like Caleb's worked his way into this program? What's impressed you about him?
His effort, it keeps getting better and better. He was plus 39, plus minus. So it just shows that, he's playing harder and harder every game. And, great guy, mature guy. I didn't expect nothing else.
KJ said that you're like an older brother to him. How have you guided him throughout his time since he's been here so far? And what have you seen from him overall?
I mean, KJ could be amazing defender. He's already a great defender. And he's been giving me troubles in practice from time to time. So, he's an inspiration to me too, how hard he plays. And he's impressed everyone with how hard he plays. And, he knocks down a couple shots. But, it's hard for any freshman in college to kind of find your spot. So just tell him to keep working, and he's doing a great job.
Questions. Well, Pella, since you've been around, if you guys went up to number 3 in the rankings, I know it may not mean much, but I didn't know if you feel like just the profile of winning that game and being highly ranked now might change anything as far as the way teams are going to come at you, for a while or anything like that.
Probably more of a motivation for other teams, maybe. So we'll just take that as a challenge. I mean, we know that any team that wants to play us, wants to beat us real bad and wants to make headlines. But we got, we want to beat them as bad as they want to beat us. We want to win every game. And, we got big goals. So.
Very interesting, and we'll have to get into this in the next hour. Pella there talking about the new charge rule that is happening in college basketball this year. We've seen him early on try to take a number of charges, and that's kind of what he's known for. In opening game against Morgan State, against Duke in the second game, picked up a couple of early fouls because he got called for some charges, as they're calling that, or called for blocking, I should say, because they're calling that a little bit differently this year. So we'll have to get into that.
Yeah, the base difference is that the defender has to have their foot planted before the offensive player leaves the court. So there's no more sliding, and that was always kind of a judgment call from the ref's perspective. But I like that they're trying to put a definitive rule onto what it is or isn't, and that allows the players to adjust to whatever the actual rule is, as opposed to just being, it looks like a foul, it's going to be a foul.
All right, we are going to have much more coming up for you in the next hour of our program. We're going to chat with the voice of the Belmont Bruins, Steve Lehman, get his perspective. We got the parade happening here as well. Lots in store for you. It is Bear Down Friday and the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show here ahead of the Wildcats and the Belmont Bruins with J.W. Mann and Kelvin Ifan. I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
As today's Spotlight on a Cat has been brought to you by O'Reilly Chevrolet. Get more with O'Reilly Chevrolet. This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Advanced Auto Care, Crest Insurance Group, Desert Diamond Casinos, First Chiropractic, On game day like no one else. We are Wildcats Radio 1290. This is the Meridian Wealth Management Countdown and Tip-Off Show on the home of Arizona men's basketball. Wildcats Radio 1290.
Coming to you live from Bear Down Friday here in Illegal Pete's. It is the final Bear Down Friday of the season, and the Wildcats playing some basketball tonight here in Tucson. The crowd is gathering. The band should be coming down the street here at any moment for their final pep rally. Of course, they may combine the two. This might be a pep rally for both the basketball game tonight. But obviously, more importantly, the football game coming up tomorrow between the Arizona Wildcats, the number 17 in the college football playoff, Arizona Wildcats, and the number 22 Utah Utes. And so it is going to be an exciting night, exciting weekend, really, of athletics here in Tucson when you look at two basketball games and a football sandwiched in between, leading up to Territorial Cup week, which will begin as soon as the final gun sounds on Saturday afternoon. We'll turn our attention to the Sun Devils and getting ready for that exciting ball game, which will be up in Tempe this year. There is nothing like Territorial Cup week, J-Dub.
No, it's the best. It's the best. And speaking of the best, I want to go back to what Kelvin Ifon, the captain, said when he was on earlier. It's been a while since the Arizona men's basketball team played as a ranked team on the same weekend that the Arizona football team played as a ranked team.
Yes.
And it's such a great time to be an Arizona Wildcat fan and to be down there on campus.
Yeah, the band is coming down. It is nighttime here, so the twirlers have their batons lit up. You can kind of see that in the distance from our position right here, and as they get a little bit closer to us, as they come down University Boulevard, we will allow you to get a listen to the band, the Pride of Arizona. Have a listen to the Pride of Arizona.
Yeah, that one. That's it right there. Perfect.
There you go, the Pride of Arizona with Fight Wildcats Fight, the obvious original fight song for the University of Arizona as they make their way now down Tyndall Avenue to take their positions for the pep rally, which will be taking place now here. Always great to hear the Pride of Arizona play their tunes on an exciting sports weekend here in Tucson, Arizona.
It never gets old, DK. I mean, I'm a native.
No.
I grew up here. I grew up in McKale, and I've heard that a million times. And it just, especially standing right there on University as they march past, it's just such a great moment.
There is other basketball games happening tonight in the Pac-12. Let's tell you a little bit about what the rest of the schedule looks like.
The Pac-12 scoreboard is brought to you by Mesquite Valley Growers. Mesquite Valley Growers. Real growers, real experience, real nursery.
All right, one game is final already today, and how about this? The Utah Utes at home actually playing in the they're actually playing in the Shriners Children's Classic down in Charleston. They played the number 6 Houston Cougars today, but the Utes fell in that ball game by a score of 76 to 66. So a couple of that's a future Big 12 matchup there between the Cougars and the Utes. And Houston, another team that is off to a great start. The Cougars are off to a 5-0 start to this season, and they got 13 points and 12 rebounds from their outstanding forward, Jawan Roberts, in that ball game. And you look at, J-Dub, the rivalries that we're going to be having moving forward. And, again, in basketball, Houston and Arizona is going to be one of those rivalries.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody knows the history between Arizona and Kansas, but the game between Arizona and Houston, what was that, just 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tough. Samson's teams are always going to be tough. And the style of basketball that they play, David Kelly, I don't know exactly the thought process behind Tommy Lloyd configuring the team he has this year. I just know that the tough on-ball defense that those Houston guards and the forwards and the type of almost like football level of defense that they play had to be some motivation to getting a little tougher, especially in the backcourt, because if you don't bring it to Houston, they're going to bring it to you. It's going to be a long night.
Other games tonight in the Pac-12. The first start will be up at Eugene, Oregon in the Admiral Coast Classic, and that's Tennessee State against Oregon. This is a campus game in that classic, so the Ducks will host Tennessee State. Tennessee State undefeated, coming in at 3-0. The Ducks are 2-0. Stanford coming off that loss earlier this week to Santa Clara, and Adama Ball will host Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington has not won in 3 games. Stanford 2-1. Of course, Arizona and Belmont will play here. That is a late start at 9 o'clock tip-off. The final game of the evening will pit Sean Miller in Las Vegas with his Xavier Musketeers at the Continental Tire main event, and they'll be taking on the Washington Huskies. The Huskies are 2-1 on this young season, so the Sean Miller getting a chance to go up against a Pac-12 team. Washington losing earlier this week to Nevada, and their lone loss with wins over Bellarmine and Northern Kentucky. So a stiff test for the Washington Huskies coming up this evening. How about last night in the Pac-12? The Arizona State Sun Devils barely escaping with a win over UMass Lowell. Not UMass, but UMass Lowell did the Arizona State Sun Devils barely beat. In fact, they needed a last-second shot to beat UMass Lowell at home. So, I mean, typical Sun Devils. They generally don't get off to a very fast start.
Yeah.
But they were able to pull out that 71-69 win. And I understand that Umar Ballo was in attendance at that game last night.
Hey, people love basketball, man. You got to go see as much as possible. I do know that Coach Hurley's working in a lot of new players again this year, so it might take a little bit of time before those guys kind of feel each other out. But a 2-point win over UMass Lowell is still a 2-point win, right? I think that the other side of that coin would have been a lot worse for the Devils, without a doubt.
Well, Dia Barnes said that earlier this week. A win is a win. I don't care how they come. It's at this time of year, you just want to get the victories. And one of the reasons why that Umar might have been at that ball game, the UMass Lowell, the Riverhawks have a forward by the name of Abdul Karim Koulibaly, who is also from Mali. And so I would imagine that he and Umar Ballo are likely tight. And so he had a chance
showing
to go up there
some support. Yeah.
When he mentioned, he talked earlier this year about how he and a bunch of players went back to Mali this summer, and put on a basketball camp. So great to see that still happening and those guys still connecting and getting a chance to watch each other play. That's always awesome when you can go watch your friends play on.
Yeah, and the other guy we always talk about is Nefali Dante, right, up at Oregon.
Yeah.
Cheick Diallo also, he's an NBA guy, but there aren't a lot of guys, DK. There aren't a lot of basketball players coming out of Mali. So I think the guys who are active right now, showing that support to the next generation or people who, and bringing that passion for the game back to their home country. It's just going to spark a whole new generation of people who look to that as potentially a career and just really get on the court and practice their skills.
We mentioned Utah playing tonight against Houston. Last night they beat Wake Forest in the opening game of that Shriners Children's Charleston Classic. So the Utes getting that win last night over a pretty good ACC program in Wake Forest. And California, though, lost to Montana State last night at home. Things tough sledding early for Mark Madsen. His Golden Bears now just 2-2 on the season, having lost to a pair of mid-majors in Montana State and Pacific. But I would think, and we'll get a chance maybe later on when we talk to Casey Jacobson to find out a little bit more about Mark Madsen, another Stanford grad who has now taken over a program here in the Pac-12 Conference. And I would think that the Cal Bears will be good in short term with Mark Madsen.
I think those guys were teammates for a year. I think, if memory serves, I think Madsen was a senior when Casey was a freshman, something like that. So they definitely played together for a short time.
Yeah. That is a look at your Pac-12 scoreboard.
That's been the Pac-12 Scoreboard, brought to you by Mesquite Valley Growers. Mesquite Valley Growers. Real growers, real experience, real nursery.
I will tell you that one team on the Wildcats' opponent is in action tonight, the 18th-ranked Michigan State Spartans. They lost that game to Duke earlier this week, and they are playing Butler tonight. Butler enters undefeated at 3-0, but right now Michigan State is leading. That's the Gavitt tip-off games tonight, and the Spartans are leading Butler 51 to 38.
They've really struggled with the outside shot so far this year. I know they started out something like 2 for 30, did the Spartans before that last game. It's really tough when you can't knock down any outside shots. Defenses can really just clamp down and make sure the inside in the paint, take away the paint, and if you're knocking down those outside shots, it's tough.
Duke got a win tonight. They played Bucknell at home at the Blue Devil Challenge and knocked off the Bison 90-60 in that one. Another final in the top 25, Miami beats Georgia. The 12th-ranked Hurricanes, who went to the Final Four last year, are off to a 4-0 start as they take down the Bulldogs of Georgia 79-67.
Also, shout out James Madison, right? First ever ranking. They're 24th in the AP poll this week. It's their first time they've ever been ranked. They're taking on Radford tonight.
They're in a battle.
They're down 2.
Radford down in Cancun.
Radford's trying to make a name for themselves by beating the big old bad James Madison squad.
Yeah, there's about 12 minutes to go in that one. Radford is leading James Madison 56-54. So we'll keep an eye on that game, maybe give you an update on that coming up just a little bit later. All right, straight ahead, we are going to talk to the voice of the
rundown real quick.
Belmont Bruins. But before we do that, let's tell you more about what's coming up in the next hour and a half of this program.
Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show. Brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Do things the right way.
All right, Steve Lehman, the voice of the Belmont Bruins, is going to join us. You'll also hear from Philly B, Philip Borovichinen, coming up, who had a pretty nice ball game the other night against Southern. Casey Jacobson going to join us from the Pac-12 Network. He'll be our view from courtside coming up tonight. We'll also take a look at tonight's line and put in our best bets. J-Dub is killing it so far this season. He's 5-1 in the basketball bets through 3 games. I'm just 2-4, so I got to mix some of this up. The over-under is high.
It's a long season.
The over-under is high on this one. 171
Wow.
is the over-under tonight. So we'll find out if we're taking the over or the under on that one. And also keys to the game. And Kelvin Efon will rejoin us as well. We'll have much more coming up for you. In fact, we'll actually talk to Kelvin Efon coming up next in the program. And so we'll talk to Kelvin next and get his thoughts on this particular game here tonight. And then we'll also talk to Steve Lehman straight ahead as well. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show. Live from Bear Down Friday, the pep rally is happening as we speak. I think I heard Dave Hickey up on the stage. With J.W. Madden and Kelvin Ifan, I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Air and Plumbing, The Diamond Store, Goldberg and Osborne, Goodfellas AC, Humane Society of Southern Arizona, Lexus of Tucson, Nova Home Loans, Recon Auto Detail, Ride Now Power Sports Tucson, Tucson Police Department.
If you're a do-it-yourselfer looking for quality car parts in Tucson, look no further. Advance Auto Parts has 6 Tucson locations with over 75 years in business. Advance Auto Parts is the largest car parts retailer in the U.S., and customers know they can trust their products, like Die-Hard batteries. Now with free installation, only found at Advance Auto Parts stores. Take advantage of our same-day delivery and pickup. Just visit our website at stores.advanceautoparts.com and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Advance Auto Parts, for all your car repair needs. Now a proud radio sponsor of the University of Arizona Wildcats.
As Arizona's leading personal injury law firm for more than 30 years, Goldberg & Osborne agrees, bear down.
Coming to you live from Bear Down Friday here at Illegal Pete's, taking you right up to Arizona basketball against the Belmont Bruins. I hear a singing of Bear Down going on and some phones being held up as the pep rally continues down here on University Avenue or University Boulevard here. Let's go ahead and bring back the third member of our team. Kelvin Ifan joins us. And Kelvin, we've been talking a little bit about the guard. Well, we've been talking a lot, obviously, about the guard play on this particular team. And I want to talk a little bit about Jaden Bradley because I want to get your thoughts on what you've seen from him so far. I'm still not sure exactly where he fits, like what his puzzle piece is in this mix. He has not necessarily shot the ball well to start this season, playing about 19 minutes. What do you think ultimately his puzzle piece is going to be with this club?
Well, I think he's a guy right now that's basically a lead guard. He's a backup point guard on this team behind Colin Boswell, but he's a guy that can come in and be your point guard, and you can move Boswell off the ball and use him as a guy that can knock down shots and score for you. You don't want to just use Boswell as just a point guard because he brings too much to the table. So I think that Bradley is that guy that can be a real good defender, real dog, use his arms, get in passing lanes, and just a tremendous team player.
Guys, we're going to pause here for a minute so we can hear a little bit of the U of A band, which is striking it up out here at Bear Down Friday. Yeah, nothing like the pride of Arizona doing their thing here. Bear Down Fridays. Kelvin, have you ever been down to this event?
I haven't, man. Usually you're playing and getting ready for the games, and then just as, being a little bit older, I'll be a little out of touch with some of these things.
You've got to get down and check out a Bear Down Friday. It's a fun little pep rally here that happens before every home football game, the final home football game of the year. And we mentioned, obviously, that as soon as the final horn sounds tomorrow at the stadium, it is officially Territorial Cup week, and it does not get any better than that. I mean, even though we still got Utah to play, I know that you're getting excited for the prospects of what's next with the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Oh, yeah, man. You got to be excited about it because there's so many implications. I mean, again, another win just helps your bowl situation of having a better bowl and more money for the athletic department and just more fun for the boys, being able to play on another level. And then just it being Arizona State, you just always like to, continue to put them in a situation where you're making it tough for their program to get back because they didn't have no mercy for us when we was going through our little streak.
No, they did not. They did not at all. And so, hey, I mean, the Wildcats putting it to them next week would be something to see. But, of course, we got to get through this week before we go to next week. All right, let's take a look at what the lines are happening on this game today.
Tucson, what are some of today's best bets? Will the Cats beat the spread? It's time to look at some of today's best bets. Brought to you by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, guys, this is a 24-point line for the Arizona Wildcats in this ball game. Again, it's the smallest line that they've had in the non-conference games. The others were well over 30 points. What do you think? What do you guys think? What do you think on this one, Kelvin? You laying 24 and the Wildcats against the Belmont Bruins tonight?
Nah, man, I know a little bit too much about the Belmont Bruins to do that. I can't have that much disrespect right now, man. They've earned the right to have a little bit more respect. I see about 16 points, but I can't see 24.
All right, so you are not laying that tonight for the Arizona Wildcats. J-Dub, what do you think?
Well, I agree 100% obviously with Kelvin, and I also think they will cover for one simple reason, because they only got a very young team, a lot of sophomores on that team, and not a lot of depth. So I definitely could see them hanging in around 15, 20-point area. But I think when Arizona puts those 8th, 9th, 10th guys in, maybe towards the end of the game, that could stretch out. 24, I could maybe see a 25-point win.
All right, well, J-Dub's kind of known what he's talking about so far this season, so that might not. But I don't feel comfortable with that 24 either. I just don't. I mean, again, this is a program in Belmont. Now, again, this is a little bit of a different Belmont team. They're a little bit younger. They are potentially going to be without their point guard tonight in Kashawn Davidson, who suffered a little bit of an injury in the game on earlier this week against Barry. So although I'm not real comfortable with that line, I think I'm going to take it. I think I'm going to lay that 24 and go with the Arizona Wildcats. So I'm laying it. J-Dub's laying it. Kelvin is not laying it tonight. Now, over-under. This is the highest one we've seen so far this season. 171 in this ball game. J-Dub, what do you think? 171.
Well, we know what the Cats can do. The Bruins are coming in averaging 86, and they've also just played a D3 school. So I think there's going to be a lot of up and down. I think that it's going to be a high-scoring game. 176, man, that's so high. I will say it's going to come in just under that. I don't think they get quite to that number, so no, they do not cover that.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one. I don't think this is going to be the overplay here tonight for the Arizona Wildcats. Even though they ended up getting to 97 in that game against the Southern Jaguars. Their defense in the second half was just so much that it kept the Southern Jaguars down. So I think this definitely comes in under the 171 tonight. How about you, Kelvin? What do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you guys. I think the Cats' defense is going to be a little bit too suffocating to give up enough points to be able to equal that total.
All right, so
yeah, 6'9" is their tallest player, Kelvin. So that's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody is taking the under on that one. We'll see how it plays out tonight. We'll let you know on the postgame show.
Those are today's best bets. They are brought to you by Desert Diamond Sportsbook, Arizona's best bet.
All right, since we've got our captain, Kelvin Ifan, here, this will be the last segment we have Kelvin on today's show. So let's dive in to what we think needs to happen tonight for the Arizona Wildcats to win this game.
Wildcats fans, our keys to the game are brought to you by the Royal Automotive Group. Royal Automotive, the dealership that is different.
All right, J-Dub, I'll start with you on this one. What are your keys to an Arizona victory tonight?
Well, as I just said, they're not a very big team, Belmont. A very, very respect. I have nothing but respect for them, like Kelvin said. I'd like to see the Cats get 50 or more points in the paint. I just want to see the Cats live in the paint tonight. I think that'll be a key. Also, just like last game, I don't want to see a lot of three-point attempts. I don't want to see them settle. So I'd like to see less than 25. Also, hold them down offensively. I think Arizona's defense is already – we've talked a lot about it this year. So I'd like to see maybe, 45% or under. They shoot about 51, 52% on the season. And finally, Cade Tyson, a really, really nice young player. I really like his game. A lot of mid-range stuff, good stroke from the outside. And also Jacoby Gillespie. Those two guys are going to have to be the focus of this guard group from Arizona. And I'd just like to see them do everything they can, prepare for the schedule coming up. Make sure you take it out on the lead guards and the scoring guards for the other team. So those two guys, I'd like to see their numbers, down from their 19 and 16.7 average on the season.
All right, that is what J-Dub thinks will need to happen tonight. Kelvin, how about you?
I personally still want to see them put a real big focus on defensive rebounding. I just believe that when you have smaller teams like this, you don't want to give them a couple opportunities on the board to end up rebounding and passing the ball out for three-point opportunities. So I think it's going to be very important to crash the boards on the defensive side of the ball. Another key, I think, with that size advantage is crashing the boards on the offensive side of the boards. Keyshawn Johnson, Balo, both of those guys should be able to really eat up a lot of offensive rebounds and finish. But with that being said, I really want to see the guys attack the guards, attack the paint, and get paint touches, because if they miss those shots, it's easy rebounds for offensive rebound opportunities. So to me, those are going to be the hugest keys, and also continuing to just have that defensive pressure and living with that. We used to always say during Miller time, defense travels. I want them to continue to have that type of defense that they played in North Carolina, because as we always said, it travels.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with what you said there, as well as when you, in terms of the offensive rebounding, you want to see that. I think that's when this team is at its best, when you got those bigs crashing the boards. And I think, again, 15 offensive rebounds is not too much to ask for. Sharing is caring. I think you want to continue to see the Wildcats pile up assists and share that basketball to the tune of 20 plus. I think that's going to be important in this ball game. And also, again, defensively, what you can do to kind of keep – you don't want these teams, these shorter teams, to come in here and start scoring from behind the three-point arc. And so defending the three-point arc, getting out there, and not necessarily limiting the number of three-point shots that they take, but making sure that you get a hand in the face every time they do take that three-point shot, and try to keep that percentage down under 35% in this ball game. All right, that's what we think the Wildcats need to do to beat the Belmont Bruins tonight.
Wildcats fans, that's our keys to the game. Brought to you by the Royal Automotive Group. Royal Automotive, the dealership that is different.
It's Arizona and Belmont tonight here at McKale Center. And before we let you go, Kelvin, I want to get your thoughts on the new – we were talking a little bit earlier about the new block charge rule that they've got in college basketball this year. The NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel earlier this summer approved a rule that requires a defender to be in position to draw a charge at the time the offensive player plants a foot to go airborne for a shot. If the defender arrives after the player has planted a foot, then officials have been instructed to call a block when there's contact. Again, we've seen defensive players for Arizona. I think we've seen more blocks than charges called against Pella Larson so far in this early season. What have you seen from that new and how they're calling it? Have you noticed anything different there with how that's transpiring so far in this young season?
Well, I always like when they make a rule that's always with safety in mind, and I think that play is with safety in mind. Guys can flip over, hit their head. To me, that's the worst one, worried about concussions and things like that. You come down on your wrist, you can break your wrist, break your hand. So, I'm always in favor of that, and it's a rule that's for both teams, not just, for one team to have an advantage. No, I really haven't seen a big change. I think some of the guys who took more charges last year are more used to, maybe not having to be as set. But I like it this way where, hey, make the adjustment. The refs get all the calls out now to get the guys used to it, so when they get into the conference, they're ready to play, and there's no excuses.
Yeah, Kelvin, we were talking earlier about how, it's always been beat the guy to the spot, right? That's been the way they've always reffed it. But having an actual rule to have the defender having both feet set, it just allows the players to adjust, right? Because they now have a guideline for what's required in order to get that charge call.
I totally agree. You're having that guideline, and now all they have to do
Meridian Wealth Management Countdown to Tip-Off Show continues on the home of Arizona men's basketball, Wildcats Radio 1290.
Broadway in Tucson presents the Rockin' 2023-2024 season featuring 8 blockbuster productions including Disney's Aladdin, The Book of Mormon, Hairspray, and Chicago.
We're here to help you get back out there. Good Feet arch supports from the Good Feet store are designed to alleviate foot, knee, hip, and back pain. Plus, provide improved balance, more comfort, and, well, a better life. Try them for yourself with a free arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
Go to the Good Feet store at 4811 East Grant Road or at goodfeet.com.
Experiencing the natural wonders comes easy at Rock & Kay. Nestled at the base of the Rincon Mountain foothills. Enjoy stunning mountain views up close every day. Explore natural open space, a network of connecting trails, and a community park within the Vale School District. Visit Lennar's 2 communities in Rock & Kay with home savings up to $35,000 and limited time interest rate and closing cost incentives on select move-in ready homes. LiveRockandK.com. Designed by Nature, proud U of A radio broadcast sponsor.
Coach Tommy Lloyd here. Did you spend money on your AC this summer? My friends at Rightway will give you back up to $3,000 for those repairs.
That's right. No matter who did the repair, we'll buy it back for up to $3,000 towards the purchase of a new heating and air system.
No repair bills this year? No worries. We will give you up to $2,000 trade-in plus 0% interest up to 60 months. Manufacturer rebates plus 10-year parts and labor warranty on a new heating and air system.
Have an aging heating and air system? Out of warranty? We'll inspect it absolutely free. Call Rightway Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing today.
Do you often worry you left the garage door open? With a LiftMaster garage door opener powered by MyQ, you'll never worry again. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage from your smartphone anytime from anywhere through the MyQ app. As an authorized LiftMaster dealer, we have smart openers designed for your needs, including belt drive motors for ultra-quiet operation, integrated camera for live video streaming, and battery backup that lets you in when the power is out.
Kaiser Garage Doors and Gates is your authorized local LiftMaster dealer. Visit KaiserDoor.com for more information.
What do you mean, trenchless?
Means no trench.
But it's the sewer line.
And they did it without ruining my yard.
The yard we're standing in?
The very same.
I don't know if I trust that.
I trust that because I trust them.
Them?
Ram Plumbing.
Locally owned and operated Ram Plumbing, offering a comprehensive range of plumbing services from fixtures to installation to trenchless sewer replacement. Turn to Tucson's most trusted plumber. When your plumbing's in trouble, call Ram on the double. Online at bestplumbertucson.com.
Black Friday savings start now at Royal Buick GMC. Why wait? Royal is offering premium trade payouts and huge savings on new Buicks and Save up to $13,500 off a new 23 GMC Sierra Crew Cab 1500 Elevation Edition. Or lease the new 24 Buick Encore GX for $289 per month for 39 months with $2,000 due at signing. Come see the all-new 24 Buick Envista, starting from $23,495 MSRP. Plus, make no payments for 120 days on all new Buick models. Don't wait. Black Friday savings start now. See dealer for details. All offers OAC plus tax, title, license, dealer installed options, and $529 doc fee. Must finance through GM Financial. Lease mileage charge of 20 cents per mile over 10,000 miles per year. Sierra G7233, Encore GX B33536. Offers end 11/30/23. Black Friday savings start now at Royal Buick GMC in the Tucson Auto Mall or RoyalTucson.com.
This is the Meridian Wealth Management Countdown to Tip-Off Show on the home of Arizona men's basketball, Wildcats Radio 1290. Our 1290 scouting report is brought to you by Ram Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double.
Wildcats and the Belmont Bruins coming up at McKale Center here at 9 o'clock this evening with tip-off. Let's get our opponent's scouting report. Pleased to be joined by the play-by-play man for the Belmont Bruins, Steve Lehman, also a local sports anchor in Nashville, Tennessee, where the Belmont Bruins reign. And Steve, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the history
of this program. This is a Belmont squad or a university and a program that had a nice run of NCAA tournaments here in the beginning part of this century. In fact, 8 NCAA bids over a 14-year stretch. What was happening at the height of this program when you guys were winning all those Atlantic Sun and Ohio Valley Conference titles?
Well, David, the man that's really the architect of it all is Rick Byrd, legendary coach, college basketball Hall of Famer, 805 wins. His name is on the court at the Curb Event Center in Nashville, and he was really the architect. He came in and built a program at the NAIA level, believe it or not, in the late 90s. And the school decided to make the bold step and say, not just are we raising our division, we're going NCAA Division I. And a lot of people thought they were crazy at the time. I think maybe even Coach Byrd at the time thought it was a bit crazy. But they were able to move up, went the independent route, then to the A-Sun, and then through the OVC. And now, of course, the Missouri Valley Conference under Casey Alexander. And each step of the way, both the university and the basketball program took a positive step and continued to win and continued to put resources and development into the basketball program. But certainly Rick Byrd, basketball genius, offensive mastermind. His teams are known for shooting the three ball, free-flowing offense. They won a ton of games and a ton of championships, obviously. And that's really what this is built on. Casey Alexander played for him. He was an assistant under him, and now he's back replacing him in his 5th season. And in these last 4.5 years, he's been one of the winningest coaches in all of college basketball. So the success has continued even under the new regime.
And you talk about, obviously, this latest move to the Missouri Valley Conference. What kind of precipitated that? Obviously, an opportunity to move up for Belmont to continue to kind of progress in Division I college basketball, I would imagine, was kind of how that all came together.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is Belmont has put itself consistently as one of the winningest programs in the country, 13 consecutive years of 20 or more wins. But what we saw multiple times in the OVC was Belmont would have a 25-win season and get upset in the OVC tournament final and not get a sniff at the NCAA tournament. And their thought was, how do we take it to another level where if we have that type of year and we do the right things in the non-conference and one day goes bad in March, how do we increase our chances to get a look from the selection committee? And the Missouri Valley Conference, as you know, historically has gotten multiple bids in. They are a league that gets an at-large if it's deserving. And so the Missouri Valley wanted to expand its reach a little bit, liked Nashville, liked Belmont, and Belmont loved the profile that the Missouri Valley Conference provides it. And so it was really kind of a match made in heaven in this world of realignment in college sports. And last year, I think Belmont acquitted itself pretty well at year one in the Valley.
Steve Lehman joining us. He's the play-by-play man for the Belmont Bruins. They are here tonight to take on your Arizona Wildcats. You mentioned the Missouri Valley. I have a little history there, having went to high school in Normal, Illinois, and saw a lot of games with the Illinois State Redbirds throughout my teen years. You mentioned third-place finish the first season. So fill us in kind of just how this is going to fit now. Do you think it's a conference where Belmont can obviously win right away and have an opportunity to get that automatic bid and potentially, like you mentioned, put yourselves in a position to be a secondary bid for the NCAA tournament?
David, certainly that is the expectation. This is a team and a program that has won 20 conference championships since 2006, whether you're talking regular season or conference tournament. So just because they moved up to the Missouri Valley, that expectation doesn't change. Now, it's more difficult. Drake has a tremendous program led by Darren and Tucker DeVries, father and son. Northern Iowa, Ben Jacobson's teams are always good. Bradley with Brian Wardell is really good right now. So there's challenges in the Valley every night that you have to play. But Belmont's expectation is to win and to win championships. And this team in particular, there's a ton of talent on this roster. Now, it's really young. There's 4 guys that are sophomores in the starting lineup, one of them who wasn't in the program last year, transfer in from Vanderbilt. And so they've got some growing up to do, and they're going to get a big lesson, I think, here tonight against Arizona, a team that is just loaded with talent and experience and guys who played a lot of basketball. But the belief is by the end of this season, they're going to be a really, really good basketball team and a tough out in the Valley. And certainly as those guys continue to grow together, the program appears to be in a very safe spot.
Now, you mentioned the 20 conference championships. Only Gonzaga and Kansas have won more conference titles over that span. You mentioned since 2006, and 19 wins or more for 18 consecutive seasons. Only Gonzaga, Kansas State, and San Diego State have done that. Let's talk a little bit about this year's team coming in here to play tonight, coming off a win over Barry on Tuesday. Win Miller kind of led you guys in scoring. Let us know a little bit about him as a player.
Well, it's going to be a totally different game tonight. I can promise you that. Barry is actually a Division III school who is coached by a Belmont Athletics Hall of Famer in Mick Hedgepeth. So that was kind of a do-good game where you got Mick and his team into a Division I arena and all that, and it was a nice story and a good game for Belmont to get going, but certainly not a game that I think is representative of what you're going to expect to see here tonight in the McKale Center. Win Miller, though, talented kid out of the state of Alabama, and really just his second game putting on the Belmont uniform. He didn't play in the season opener, had a bit of an injury in the preseason. He made his first 8 shots the other night. And so it was a very efficient game. He's sort of the prototypical Belmont guard, steady, doesn't hurt you, does a lot of the smart basketball plays, and can really shoot it if you allow him to. And he was feeling it the other night and got some confidence, which is great to see because I talked about the starters. They're really talented and good. One of the keys for this Belmont team is to get significant contributions from the bench. They got that the other night from Win Miller. They got that the other night from Jace Willingham and Kyler Vanderjagt, which is important because some of those starters, Cade Tyson, who's probably the best player on this team, preseason All-Valley, he's been a little bit beat up as of lately. Keyshawn Davidson, the starting point guard, went down in the second half the other night, I think with kind of an ankle injury. He didn't return in the game. We hope he's going to be good to go tonight. But they're going to need contributions from everybody to have any sort of a chance to stick around against the talented Wildcats.
All right, so if Keyshawn Davidson can't go, then what's the plan for Coach Alexander?
Well, you'll see a lot more Win Miller for sure. And Jacoby Gillespie, who's another guy who was an all-freshman performer in the Valley last year, also an all-bench performer, has really taken his game to the next level this season. He's averaging just shy of 17 points. 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. So he's a guy who can really fill up the stat sheet. He's a great ball handler, a surprisingly good athlete for a guy who's 6'1". I mean, he can jump over you if given the opportunity. So if there is Davidson or if he's limited, you're going to see the ball in the hands of Gillespie even more. But I think you'll see both of those guys out there tonight. They're going to predominantly handle the ball on the perimeter for Belmont. Tyson's a great wing player that is really efficient offensively. All of his numbers last year and this year, you're talking 50% from the floor, 40+% from 3, near 90% from the line. So he can score in a variety of ways. And then the guy who really changes what Belmont does, David, is Malik Dia. He's the transfer from Vanderbilt, 6'9", 240. He's a load inside, but we've seen in each of the first 3 games this year him make a defensive play, either a steal, a block shot, or a rebound, and go coast to coast for a dunk or a layup at 6'9", 240. So he's a guy who can handle the ball, and when he gets a full head of steam going, you better look out because he might make something happen.
Steve, you mentioned Coach Alexander being a protege of Rick Byrd. I also understand that he was a coach at Lipscomb for a while, and that's one of the chief rivals of Belmont. So I'm just curious, is that an issue among the fan base that he spent a little time after 16 years on campus there after being a player? And second, does he have a very similar style to Coach Byrd? Is he following those footsteps, and is he continuing that style of play now that he's the head coach at Belmont?
It was a fascinating dynamic because the two schools don't like each other very much, but they respect each other. They're both schools that have a faith-based background, and so they do things very similarly on campus. But they're also separated by a mile and don't like each other, definitely want to win whenever they play in the non-conference portion of the schedule. So it was weird when he came back from Stetson to be the Lipscomb head coach. That said, when it was time to replace Coach Byrd, he was an obvious choice at Belmont, and he was immediately welcomed back with open arms and has great success. 100 wins, 5th fastest guy in NCAA history at his current school to get to that platform. So he had a tremendous amount of success coming back. And he is very similar to Coach Byrd in terms of the way he runs the program, his emphasis on the offensive end of the floor and free-flowing movement, getting open threes, being efficient inside the arc. But he also has some wrinkles to what he likes to do as well, maybe a little bit less rigid in some of the structures that they do. And frankly, he says that was partly out of necessity. He loved what Coach Bird did at Belmont, but when he first became a head coach at Stetson, he didn't have the players to do exactly what Coach Bird did at Belmont. And so he had to throw in some wrinkles that then just became a part of what he did. He carried that over at Lipscomb, where he had great success, and he's brought it back to Belmont as well. So there are a lot of similarities there, but it's not a carbon copy of exactly what you saw under Rick Bird either.
So you talked about a free-flowing offense. We're used to seeing that here in Tucson under Coach Lloyd as well. As far as the defensive side of things, is that a pretty standard matchup style man-to-man? What should Wildcat fans expect to see tonight on the defensive side of things?
They certainly prefer to play man-to-man throughout the course of the game, but they're not afraid to switch it up, especially if they don't like particular matchups that they're going to have. And I think tonight is a case in point where you've got an Arizona team with a ton of playmakers, a lot of size inside. I would imagine you'll see a few different looks defensively with some zone sprinkled in there at times. But predominantly, you're looking at a team that's going to play man-to-man as much as they possibly can.
Joined by Steve Lehman, the play-by-play man for the Belmont Bruins. It is Belmont in Arizona tonight at the McKale Center. Tip-off coming up here at 9 o'clock. Steve, were you doing the games back in 2013 when these two teams met in the NCAA tournament?
I was not. So I was not at that game. I was in Nashville, so I covered the team a lot at that point in time, but I wasn't on the call for that game.
And I know Casey was an assistant coach on the team that played here the last time. I think that might have been the last time we hosted NCAA games here in Tucson. Has he said anything this week about coming back to McKale Center?
I think he just has mentioned basically what a whirlwind time that was, because that Belmont team actually won 30 games in the regular season and really had a belief that they could do some damage, and frankly matched up really well against Wisconsin and played really well in that game. And Wisconsin just hit a ton of shots at the end of the shot clock, a bunch of threes, and managed to pull that game out down the stretch. And it was really disappointing because Belmont felt like it had a team that could win multiple games in the NCAA tournament. And from Casey's perspective, you go immediately from that disappointment to the decision about leaving Nashville, which is, by the way, where he grew up. He grew up in Nashville. His wife is from the area. They met at Belmont. He then got out of school and playing, became a grad assistant, and then an assistant coach. And then all of a sudden, after that game, he gets this opportunity to become a head coach, which is the dream. But you're moving to Florida and away from family and all those sort of things, which was a difficult decision for them at the time. And also, we were actually joking about this last night at dinner. It was one of those decisions where you know how it goes in this business. You make that decision, you may never move back to Nashville. You may never have the chance to go back to Belmont, the school you love. And he goes down to Stetson, and of course, the history is different. They moved back to Nashville 2 years later and then got the job at Belmont, and the rest is really history. But it was definitely an interesting time for them, and a lot of Belmont fans remember that team in that game and hoping for a little bit different result and different memory here tonight.
And you're no stranger, we understand, here to Tucson. You've got some ties to the city.
Yeah, my dad actually lived out here for a couple years. I grew up like you in Central Illinois. I grew up in Champaign, so very familiar with Highland Boswell as well. But I'm a Midwestern guy, but my dad lived out here for a couple years when he first retired. He's since moved back to Chicago. But yeah, I've been out here a couple times, but never actually seen a game in the McKale Center. So I'm looking forward to being a part of one here tonight.
All right, Steve. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to join us and get the folks here some knowledge on the opponent tonight, the Belmont Bruins.
David, looking forward to tonight. This Arizona team's really good, so it's going to be a huge challenge.
Steve Lehman, the voice of the Belmont Bruins. We appreciate him taking a few minutes to join us here tonight, getting you set for this ball game, which tips off at McKale Center at 9 o'clock. All right, much more coming up for you in our final hour. We're going to talk to Casey Jacobson from the Pac-12 Network. We'll have our pest of the game. Who's that guy that's going to get under the Wildcats' skin tonight from the Belmont Bruins? Also, we'll hear from Adia Barnes as her squad is down in paradise, down in the Bahamas right now for the battle for Atlantis They will play tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday down there, potentially against an Ole Miss team. If they can get by Memphis on Saturday, that went to the Sweet 16 and is a closet favorite to potentially go to the Final Four on the women's side this year. Some exciting opportunities down there this weekend for the Arizona women's basketball team, and we'll hear from Medea Barnes on that. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show. We're coming to you live from Illegal Pete's down here on University Boulevard. The pep rally for Bear Down Friday is over, and all we got to do now is go out and beat the Utes on the football field tomorrow afternoon, the Belmont Bruins on the basketball court tonight, and then the UT Arlington Mavericks on the basketball court on Sunday. With JW Madden and Kelvin Efon, I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio, 1290.
That's today's 1290 Scouting Report, brought to you by Ram Plumbing. When your plumbing is in trouble, call Ram on the double. This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Blue Whale Car Wash, Caruso's Italian Restaurant, Cool Willie's Air and Plumbing.
Coming to you live from Bear Down Friday down here at Illegal Pete's on University Boulevard, corner University on Tyndall. I'm David Kelly along with Kelvin Ifan, J.W. Madden, getting you set for Arizona basketball tonight over at McKale Center. It is the Wildcats and the Belmont Bruins from Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville is in the house tonight here in Tucson. Time to give away some tickets to see the Arizona football game tomorrow. So if you don't have any tickets, come by. You might still have a chance to win. I don't know if I'm going to ask the person a question or just give them away, but we'll see how that goes here. All right. Do we have Chris Rickus in the house tonight? Chris Rickus. Come over here, Chris. Have a seat. Have a seat. We'll see. I want to see how smart you are before I decide if you're going to get these tickets or not. Okay. Put your headset on there. You got to put the headset on. All right, we got to put the mic down.
Wow.
There you go. How are you, Chris?
I'm good.
Where are you from?
Originally from Ohio, but I've lived in Tucson over 25 years.
All right. Where in Ohio? Because I'm from Ohio.
Ooh, I'm from Akron.
Akron, the home of LeBron James
Yes.
and St. Vincent St. Mary.
Yes,
What
St.
high
Vincent
school
St.
did you?
Mary's.
What high school did you go to?
I went to a public school, but my husband went to St. Vincent St. Mary.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't want to say what you're not ashamed you went to a public school now. Come on.
No. I'm very proud
okay.
of it. It's Firestone High School.
I know Firestone. Yes.
You
I'm from
do?
Cleveland.
Oh, okay,
I'm from
cool.
Cleveland. So hey, we got Northeast Ohioans here. I love it. All right, Chris, how smart are you?
Well, I have a degree.
You have a degree?
I have a college degree.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. And are you going to the game tonight? The basketball game?
Oh, no, we're not going to
No.
a basketball game.
Okay, but
no.
you want to go to the football game tomorrow.
I do.
Okay. Do you know much about Arizona basketball?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question, and then I'll decide whether or not you get these tickets or not based on if you can answer that question.
Okay.
Okay. There was an Arizona Wildcat basketball player that just retired from the NBA last month. He made the most money of any Arizona Wildcat in history playing in the NBA. Do you know the answer and who that player is? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
Give her a hint,
dun,
DK.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, I'm gonna get you give her a hint, JW. You can play on this show. You give her a hint.
He played in the Bay Area.
He played in the Bay Area for the Golden State Warriors at the end of his career.
Oh my God.
You want to take a guess?
NBA Finals MVP.
He was an NBA Finals MVP
I watched
in a
so much
finals in which he beat the Cavaliers.
Oh.
He held LeBron to 29 points a game.
Oh. And I know it's not LeBron James.
Do you know this guy over here?
Yes.
Who's that?
It's my husband.
Okay, you want to ask for a lifeline?
Yeah. Phone a friend.
Phone a friend, lifeline. I don't think hubby knows either. No?
Steph was born in Akron, too.
Yeah, Steph Curry was born in Akron.
No. I didn't know
Okay.
that.
My favorite band's from Akron, too, Black Keys.
Black Keys?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
from Akron
wow,
as well.
I did not know that. Hubby he's not giving you a lifeline, Chris? Is hubby from Northeast Ohio? He's got his phone out now.
So it's phone a friend. So I'm gonna get my phone out.
Yeah, phone a friend. I'm gonna give you one more hint. All right.
Uh-huh.
His initials are AI.
Oh. I don't know how to pronounce it. Iguodala.
Andre Iguodala. Outstanding.
Andre.
Chris, you're going to see the Wildcats play the Utah Utes tomorrow. How about that? Andre Iguodala. See, you're smarter than you thought you were.
Yeah, I just knew it.
There you go. Who's your favorite player on this year's football team? You have a favorite?
On the football team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't get over what Fafita's been doing.
Noah Fafita, okay.
Yeah, and we gotta love Delora, of course. We
Jaden
gotta
Delora.
Yeah, Jaden. We gotta give a shout out to him too.
Okay.
So
outstanding. When's the last time you went to a game? You go to a lot of games during?
Yeah, we went to the game 2 weeks ago.
Okay, against UCLA.
Yep, UCLA.
Right.
Yep, the Bruins. That was really, really good.
There
it was
you
a
go.
great game.
Awesome.
Stayed until the end because it's a late game at 7:30. Tomorrow's early at 12:30.
Tomorrow's early. Bring your umbrella. Let's hope it doesn't rain, right?
I hope it doesn't rain. Yeah.
Chris, enjoy the game. Thanks for coming by and playing. Always good to talk to somebody from Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, thanks.
There you go.
Thank
All
you.
right. Chris Rickus
That's Rickus,
is
yeah.
going to see the Arizona Wildcats take on the Utah Utes.
Woohoo!
That's J.W. Madden back there.
Oh.
Say hi, J-Dub.
Hi, J-Dub.
And by
Yeah,
the
I'm not
way,
allowed to be out.
you're on TV, so wave to that camera there to all your friends. There you go. Chris is on TV as well. All right. Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right. Enjoy the game tomorrow. All right, we want to talk to you before we get out of here as well. 520-848-1290, 520-848-1290 if you want to get in on the program. I want to remind you, coming up at the end of the game tonight, don't forget, we had our first look of the game, which was brought to you by with the Window Depot. The Window Depot also sponsors our glass cleaner of the game. Might be the Wildcat with the most rebounds, might be the U of A star with the most impactful boards in the game, but we'll tell you the Window Depot glass cleaner of the game coming up tonight on the post-game show. So hang with us. Come right back to 1290 after the game, and we will give you all of that exciting information. All right,
It might be a slight abridged post-game show this evening.
Yeah, it could be slightly abridged. So you want to get in quick because we got an early day tomorrow, so we can't be hanging out with y'all all night long.
Well, we could be here till 3 a.m. and then come back at 7 a.m. But then, what kind of shape are we going to be in then? So
Exactly. All right, Arizona women's basketball is on the road this weekend. They are at the Battle for Atlantis down in the Bahamas, Nassau. Beautiful hotel that is on the island side, and they will be playing tomorrow against the Memphis Tigers to start, and then potentially, if they win, could be facing Ole Miss, the Rebels, in round 2 on Sunday. They did the Wildcats on Tuesday night here against the University of San Diego, but it was not an easy ball game. They were up 12 early, then they were down by 1 in the third quarter when Dia Barnes went to her press, got 3 quick turnovers, which led to a 13-0 run. It helped turn the game back in the Wildcats' favor. Let's hear from Adia on that third quarter and Arizona coming back to beat the Toreros.
I think that as a player, they see stuff works. Like a player can have habits, and it takes a long time to break habits. If you're jumping in high school, it's different. Like Skylar, you do some things in high school, you can't do them here. But I think that press, they get confident in the press, and then they get a steal. And I think just the next level is when you get that steal, you may not try to score right away, and then you turn it over. So those are the experience things, but that press was really good because we were down by 1 point. And USD is a good team, and I think that we're having to win in different ways. And if you look at the last 3 games, we started off really bad. So I changed the lineup, and then people get a little bit mad. And then you move it around. But then today, that same group that I gave a chance 2 games ago came and we had one of our best starts. So that's the expectation and the standard here. We can't give up 15 points in the first 5 minutes. And they played harder. Our bigs are running harder. They're trapping harder. And, as Mary, I'm having to move her because our lack of depth in the guard position. So she's, coming in, playing the 3. Then someone else comes in. She moves to the 4 offensively, the 3 defensively. So for her and Sally, it's a little bit challenging. So when Courtney comes back, I'm praying that she comes back by this weekend because she gives us a really good on-the-ball defensive player, so I can move Helena and Kaylin off the ball some. So we need her.
The Courtney she was talking about is Courtney Blakely. Speaking of Tennessee, she transferred to the University of Arizona from Middle Tennessee State. However, she is yet to be made eligible by the NCAA. So the Wildcats are kind of waiting on that to happen so she can get on the floor. Now, Helena Puello, and we had mentioned this earlier in the week, Helena Puello in that ball game scored just 2 points, but she stuffed the stat sheet in a number of other areas. She had 9 rebounds in the game, 6 assists, and 6 steals. She's had back-to-back 6+ steal games for the Arizona Wildcats. And although not scoring maybe at the rate that the Wildcats would like and will eventually need her to score, Adia is still very impressed with what she got out of Helena Puello the other night.
Yeah, it's hard to work without Helena. She's so valuable. And what she does and what she brings does not ever show up on the stat sheet. Because if you look at the stat sheet, she has 6 points or she had 2 points. I mean, but then she has 9 rebounds, 6 steals, 6 assists, 2 turnovers. She's just a phenomenal basketball player. She's so smart. She can play every position for us. I mean, look at all those home run passes. She probably had 5 of those, and they're like hard, one-armed, like dime passes. She'd be a great quarterback. But she's defensively, she's really good. She anticipates well. Yeah, she's just a really talented basketball player. And I'm sad she's a 5th year because I would keep her for 5 more years.
College basketball increases every single year.
Yeah.
You came in and you said a win's a win. How much value is there to your team going through adversity early on in the season, knowing what you have ahead of the schedule?
There's a tremendous amount of value. A couple of years ago, I would have been really mad after this game. And I would have said, we had 24 turnovers. It looks like we're not coaching fundamentals and stuff. But like just as I get older and more experienced, I just see like wins are hard to come by. There's upsets all around the country, and winning isn't easy. And so we played against a team that plays a 2-2-1 back to 2-3, and we're not shooting the ball well, and we found a way. And we found a way despite the turnovers and just lack of some fundamentals. But I have to remember when I get really critical, we're a really young team with 7 new players, so sometimes I'm playing 3 freshmen at a time. So there are going to be mistakes, and I just have to remember that it's for the future. And, like, they're going to be really good. Like, Brea, she's a freshman. She's got, like, gloves for hands. And she gets a little winded. She may mess up, like, an on-ball assignment, but she's going to be really, really special. And then the person next to her that starts, Maya, she's a sophomore. So Kaylin's a sophomore, one of our best players. So we're really young, and some things are going to be ugly, but there are a couple of things we have to work on. Just fundamentals. Like, it's not about right now putting in 10 more plays. It's about, like, fundamentals of basketball, jump stopping, not jumping in the air. And I think we get so excited. We have a great defensive play. We turn them over, and then we just go throw it back because we want to go for that home run pass. But I think with experience, you don't go for that pass. You don't go for, like, the score right away. You may have a good possession. So just learning, but that comes with time. And I think that we're young, and the things that I'm really proud about this year is our chemistry and our cohesiveness. Like last year, we were a really selfish team. Like everybody wanted to score so much. It was all offense. Like I used to have to say, you have to pass the ball 8 times before you shoot, like stuff like that. And I'd say we're very unselfish. We have some people that are really good scorers, but we share the ball, and it shows on offense and defense. When you have a team that is gelling and stuff, you help each other. When you have a team that's really worried about themselves, you don't help each other because you're worried about your own player. So I think those are the things you can build on. So we're gonna be a good team. I think we'll surprise people.
We shall see. Memphis, the Tigers, is the game tomorrow, and that'll be a 12:30 start time. Our coverage will begin at 12:15. You'll hear that game on KTUC Freedom 1400.
Quick rundown real quick.
Let's let you know what's coming up for the rest of this hour of the program.
Let's take a look at the Right Way Rundown and see what's coming up on our pregame show. Brought to you by Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. Do things the right way.
All right, still to come, you got your pest of the game, and we will hear from Casey Jacobson, the View from Courtside. The Pac-12 Network basketball analyst will join us. That's straight ahead. It's the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show. Arizona, the Wildcats taking on the Belmont Bruins. 9 o'clock tip-off tonight here at McKale Center. We are on University Avenue. Bear Down Friday at Illegal Pete's. The party has wrapped up in terms of the pep rally, but still lots of fun at the various establishments down here on the avenue or the boulevard, as we might say. With J.W. Madden and Calvin Efon, I'm David Kelly. You're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Broadway in Tucson, Dave & Buster's Tucson, Dorado Rock, First Choice Pools, The Good Feet Store, Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care, O'Reilly Chevrolet, Ram Plumbing, Restaurant Supply Store, Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, Rocking KA Master Plan Community Design by Nature, University Termite and Pest Control. It's time now to take you down the front row of the arena. A view from courtside is brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser, celebrating 25 years serving Southern Arizona.
It is our view from courtside today, and we are joined by the analyst on tonight's ball game between Arizona and Belmont, Casey Jacobson from the Pac-12 Network, joining us. And Casey, I believe is this your first time on the Wildcats this season?
It is for this season, yes, but I'm always honored to be a part of it. I hated you guys when I played 25 years ago, but I think the hate was mutual. Now that I'm older, I'm 42 years old now. I look back on that time with fond memories, but I have as much respect for Arizona's basketball program as any program in the country.
Well, we were just talking about that famed game. I believe it was 2001. You guys were number one, and the Wildcats went up to Maples and won by 1 point. We were talking about that game earlier this week. What do you remember about that night?
Nothing. Would you like to talk about the 2 times that my team beat you guys in McKale?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that did happen earlier that season.
So it happened the season before as well. So I was on a podcast with Richard Jefferson, who we competed against each other in college and in the NBA. He's obviously been a really talented broadcaster as well. We were on a podcast together, and it was just funny. Like, he wanted to talk about the time that he came to Maples Pavilion and beat us, and we were ranked number 2, I think, in the country, or number 1. We were number 1. And I wanted no part of that. I just wanted to visit my freshman year when we beat you guys on CBS, and Dick Vitale was on the call. And then when we came back the following year and beat them in 2001. But ultimately, Arizona got the last laugh that year as they won they played in the national championship game against Duke. What was interesting about that 2001 title game, Dave, was we beat Arizona, and we had beaten Duke earlier that year in December. And so for me, I was watching that game from home with just a snarl on my face, so mad. I'm such a psycho competitor. But we beat both of the teams that played in the national title that year. It was hard for me to swallow, but that so it goes in a single game elimination tournament at the end of the year.
Great story there, Casey Jacobson from the Pac-12 Network. So then I'll ask you this: what's the key to winning in McKale?
have 2 twin 7-footers in Jason and Jaron Collins. That's a really good place to start. Have a Hall of Fame head coach on your bench, and then throw the ball to Casey Jacobson and let him go to work. That, to me, is a really solid, 3-ingredient recipe that's going to win a lot of games. So, if Belmont – I'm looking at Belmont, the Bruins, they don't have that tonight.
No,
so I don't
really.
know how it's going to go for them, but, other teams might. We'll see.
Yeah, I think their tallest guy is 6'9" from what I've seen. So, but when you look at this Belmont team, what kind of stands out to you?
Well, a couple of things. Belmont is a legitimate program. I mean, there's a lot of Arizona basketball fans that follow college basketball, and they've heard of Belmont before. They may not have, there's probably some students who have never heard or have seen Belmont. But this is a really, really good mid-major program. They've won as many games as any mid-major program that you can think of, including like a program like Dayton, for example. This year's team is in a little bit of a rebuild. They're only going to start 1 senior. The rest of their starting 5 are sophomores. Their head coach, Casey Alexander, I believe this is his 5th season. He took over for Rick Byrd, who was there for decades and was the winningest coach that Belmont's ever had. This team, if you're looking at a guy like, hey, who do we look out for? They have 2 very talented players. Their point guard is Jacoby Gillespie, 6'1". He's small, but he's really shifty, very good scorer. And then Cade Tyson is the player to me that has the most talent. I think he could be a fringe NBA pro prospect. Right now he's only a sophomore. He's 6'7". They play him at the 4, but in the NBA he would be like a 3-man. He can really shoot it. His brother is playing in the NBA right now. Hunter Tyson is his older brother's name, plays for the Denver Nuggets. So that's a name to look out for, Cade Tyson. Those 2 guys are going to have to be special, and I mean special in the exact definition of that word, if they're going to challenge the Arizona Wildcats tonight.
Casey Jacobson joining us from the Pac-12 Network. Arizona and Belmont coming up. Tip-off at 9 o'clock at McKale Center. When you look at this Arizona team coming off a win last Friday night at Duke and then struggling in the first half but finding their game right out of the chute in the second half against Southern, Keyshawn Johnson has been just a tremendous addition to this ball club. We talked to Ernie Kent earlier in the week, and he was talking about how he can pretty much score from anywhere on the floor. Can this young man? What do you like about what he potentially could add to this Wildcats lineup?
So that's crazy. I love Ernie Kent, by the way. Awesome dude. That's crazy that Ernie would say that because I've followed Keyshawn Johnson's career. This is my 10th year with Fox. Fox, we have a deal with Mountain West Conference. I've called multiple San Diego State games over the last several years. Keyshawn Johnson was not a scorer. I mean, he was not. He was probably the fourth or fifth option on a San Diego State team that was elite defensively, but offensively they sometimes got lost in the weeds. Keyshawn Johnson. Last year was his career high in scoring average. 7.7 points a game is what he averaged last year.
Right.
To watch him right now be the leading scorer for Arizona, and I know it's a small sample size. I get it, 3 games. Okay. It still blows my mind. It is blowing my mind. I'm watching tape, and I'm like, oh, my goodness. I would not have seen this at all. I would have absolutely seen the upgrade that he would have given Arizona on the defensive end. From Ajulas Tubelis, one of the most talented offensive forwards of the last couple of seasons in college basketball, to Keyshawn, I was like, oh, yeah, it's an upgrade on defense, certainly. But offensively, they're going to lose a little bit. They haven't lost anything. That's just wild. So super happy for Keyshawn to be able to, transfer after playing in the national title game, transfer to a program that is wanting to get to the national title game and kind of seamlessly transition. It's fantastic for the fans. And he's one of those guys you root for. He's a great kid from Oakland. And, he plays super hard. How can you not root for guys who are passionate, play hard? He's super athletic. But I think he is, and this isn't like hyperbole. I don't want to go crazy, but he's one of the best stories so far for me because we're in the transfer, what do you want to call it, the transfer portal era of college sports. And so every team has at least 2, 3, or sometimes even more transfers. And so as an analyst, I'm looking around the country, and if you're asking me the question of who has been the most impactful transfer in college basketball in the first 2 weeks of the season, 2 guys come to mind. Hunter Dickinson, transfer for Kansas, came from Michigan, had a 27-point, 21-rebound game against the other night, and Keyshawn Johnson. Those are the 2 most impactful transfers. I know it's only 2 weeks into the season, but that's what I'm saying.
So what do you think is leading to this scoring splurge that we're seeing from him? Is it just the system? He's in a different system where maybe he's allowed to do more, run the floor, wasn't maybe allowed to do those types of things at San Diego State?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've watched Arizona play every game. They play a way, way more up-tempo style than Brian Dutcher in San Diego State has ever played and never wants to play. So you're going to get more possessions, okay? Also, Arizona is chock full of guys that can score that you have to guard. You have to guard Kylan Boswell. You have to guard Caleb Love. You have to guard Pella Larson. And San Diego State made the national championship last year. But if you look at their roster, there were only a couple of guys that were like, you have to guard him. There were a few guys on their roster who were like, you don't really need to guard him. He'll score if he's wide open. But that's just not how they play. So the combination of the tempo, more possessions, and Keyshawn is just surrounded by offensive studs everywhere has allowed him to kind of just play free, and it's just been right in his element. That's how I would explain it.
Casey Jacobson joining us from the Pac-12 Network. Speaking of not really guarding players, we've seen Tommy Lloyd kind of deploy this defense at times where they don't guard certain bigs out on the perimeter, shoot, guys that they know are not going to shoot. They just won't even go out there anywhere close to those guys. What do you think of that defensive style?
I love it. Tommy, for the years that I've covered him at Gonzaga and now Arizona, they're always thinking outside of the box, and I love that stuff. I really do. They employed a certain unique style of defense. I believe it was, 2 years ago in the championship game of the Pac-12 tournament when they were playing UCLA, that team with Johnny Juzang and Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah.
And they were doing this real weird switching thing that I had never seen before. So it doesn't surprise me that Tommy's like, he's in his staff meetings and they're like, hey, what should we do here? And they're like, well, why don't we just like not guard him at all and put Umar Ballo like at the charge circle? And they're like, well, I don't really see people do that. Like, why don't they do that? Because that guy can't shoot. It's interesting. Now, there are certain holes to that. If you drop a center and have him play underneath the basket and that big guy ends up doing a quick dribble handoff, and you're going to be in trouble if Umar Ballo can't get from the bottom of the basket all the way to the top. So there are some things that you can do that Duke did not do that will make you pay for a defense like that. But it's just another example to me of Tommy and his staff making adjustments, trying things. And they took a swing, man. They took a swing in Durham, and they hit it out the park. And I love it. It's good for West Coast hoops. It's good for Pac-12 hoops. And obviously it's good for Arizona.
Casey, speaking of Pac-12 hoops, you mentioned the Collins twins that you played with. You also played with Mark Madsen for a year. What kind of a coach, number one, do you think Mr. Madsen's going to be over there at Cal? And number two, can you just maybe reminisce a tiny bit about the dissolving of the conference that you played in, you've covered for such a long period of time? Just your general thoughts about this rivalry between these two teams not being a thing going forward.
Yeah, well, first let's start with Mark Madsen. His nickname, Mad Dog. One of the most unique individuals and players I've ever had the honor of playing with. He was called Mad Dog because he was a psychopath on the court. But off the court, he couldn't be more gentle, more kind, more considerate, almost so much that he would make you uncomfortable with. Like, he would call everybody ma'am and sir, and he would shake everyone's hand. And he coaches like that. He coaches with the nice balance of love and support, and then when he gets in between the lines or he's standing in front of the bench, he's a crazy man. He's taking over a program that only won 3 games last year, guys. So it is a monster rebuild, and I know they lost just the other night to Montana State at home. But I predict that Mark's going to win double-digit games this year, which will be a really nice kind of jumping-off point as he continues to build that program. Although they're going to go to the ACC, okay, which is another part of the conversation you asked me about, the dissolving of the Pac-12. My alma mater, Stanford, and Mark Madsen's alma mater, actually, he was, right, even though he coaches at Cal. Cal and Stanford are going to the ACC, which absolutely makes no sense to me at all. And obviously I was not a part of that decision. But what I will say is I am scared for both Stanford and Cal. The ACC, although it has not been a very good basketball conference over the last 2 years, for the previous 25, you could argue it was the best. And there's some sleeping giants that are like a Louisville program that's struggling right now that you get the right coach in there and it's going to be right back up to the top again. But Duke, Carolina, Miami, Virginia with Tony Bennett coaching, I'm scared that Cal and Stanford are kind of going to get lost in the shuffle of what is traditionally a monster basketball conference. I'm super sad about this whole thing, guys. I grew up in Los Angeles, California. I grew up watching Pac-10 basketball, played in it, have covered Pac-12 for the last 10 years. I'm trying to soak in every moment of this conference that I can this season. I do have the honor of calling the last Pac-12 men's basketball game because I'm calling the championship game in Las Vegas for Fox. Fox has it this year as opposed to ESPN. So I will be on the call for that, and I'm already thinking about how fun and / sad that is going to be. I'm calling it with Jason Benetti, and it's going to be awkward. Just saying goodbye to the Pac-12 conference as we will know it ever. But I love it. It breaks my heart. But this is nothing stays the same, right, guys? In life, in sports life, in business life, in our normal life, nothing stays the same. Things change, and we're going to have to do our best to move on.
Outstanding. Hey, Casey, appreciate you taking a few minutes. Our view from the courtside today from Casey Jacobson, Pac-12 Network analyst on the call tonight of the.
I'm going to fire off the outro.
At McKale Center. Casey, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again before the end of the season.
My pleasure. You sure you don't want to go over that 2001 home loss at McKale a little more?
Well,
Sure?
hey, if
All
you got anything else left to say about it, how many points? I didn't dig up that box score, so I don't know how many points you scored that night.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I had like close to 20, 18 or 19. Yeah. I outscored Gilbert Arenas. I know that.
Oh,
so, yeah, go look it up.
There you go. All right, next time I'll have those numbers next time we talk to you.
All right, sweet. See you guys.
We hope you enjoyed your view from courtside. It was brought to you by Kaiser Garage Door and Gates. Kaiser, celebrating 25 years serving Southern Arizona.
Oh, man. Casey Jacobson. We got to definitely have him back on in the future. That was a fun interview there, J-Dub.
Yeah, I mean, if you outscore Gil, you gotta tell everybody about that for sure. No, I mean, I saw I probably was at every game that Mr. Jacobson played, and it's true that the start of that interview where he didn't like Arizona, we didn't like him. Fans did not like him. You know why? Because he was damn good. And so anytime a really good team comes in consistently and has a really, really good player like that just plays to win, really, really admired his game. Really fun player to watch. And I'm glad his eligibility ran out. Let's just put it that way.
No kidding. No question about that. All right, final segment coming up. We want to hear from you, 520-848-1290. If you want to get in on the program, headed to the game tonight, about your thoughts on Arizona basketball. Still got our pest of the game. We'll give you your starting lineup and much more. It is the Meridian Wealth Management Arizona Tip-Off Show. We're coming to you live here from Bear Down Friday, Illegal Pete's, and you're listening to Wildcats Radio 1290.
The Meridian Wealth Management Countdown to Tip-Off Show continues on the home of Arizona men's basketball, Wildcats Radio 1290.
Get the backyard you've always wanted with a custom pool from First Choice Pools. A backyard oasis built around you. First Choice is a full-service builder of beautiful in-ground pools and backyard designs for years of staycations. If you're ready to dive in, then visit TucsonPoolBuilder.com. Schedule now and get 3 months of full service free. First Choice Pools for installs, renovation, remodeling, and repair. Get started today at TucsonPoolBuilders.com. First Choice Pools, the first and only choice.
At Nova Home Loans, we believe everyone deserves the opportunity to enjoy the independence that comes with home ownership. Whether you're a first-time home buyer who needs down payment assistance, have less than perfect credit, or looking to refinance, Nova has a variety of home loan programs for your unique situation. Visit NovaHomeLoans.com or call 800-955-9125 to learn more. Not a commitment to lend or extend credit. Rates and available loan programs are subject to change without notice. NMLS 3087, BK 0902429, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Hi, it's Floyd, the family man with the family plan. Outdated HVAC systems will drive up your electric bill, drain your wallet, and peace of mind. Save now at Goodfellas with no payments or interest till 2024. Get a 30% federal tax credit, up to $2,000 off qualifying heat pumps. Trust Goodfellas. We're locally owned with thousands of 5-star reviews. Good service, good prices, Goodfellas. Visit us at goodfellasac.com to schedule a no-cost estimate.
Sean Furrier for Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care. For some of you, the cooler overnight temperatures will be just enough to trigger your tire's low-pressure warning light. In most cases, you can solve the problem simply by adding the correct amount of air to your tires. This month, mention this ad, and with the purchase of any new tire pressure sensor, we'll install it in your wheel and rebalance your tire absolutely free. You'll find even more specials to get you road trip ready at jackfurriers.com. We're here to get you there.
Here's an important message from University Termite and Pest Control. The weather is getting cooler here, and so rodents will be seeking alternative housing. Do you need a professional? Call University Termite and Pest Control, 886-4146. They've been serving Tucson since 1974. You can be
1290.
Final few minutes with you here from Bear Down Friday. Illegal Pete's down on University Boulevard, taking you up to 8 o'clock, and the network pregame, Learfield, as the Wildcats getting set to take on the Belmont Bruins. Just the second meeting ever between these two teams, and the last meeting, in fact, the only meeting, came in the NCAA tournament between these two teams, and that was back in 2013 when the Wildcats knocked off Belmont in the first round by a score of 81-64, thanks to 23 points that night from one Mark Lyons. So last time that these two teams got together was in the national tournament for these Arizona Wildcats. Crowd starting to thin out here down on University Avenue as folks begin to make their way to the ball game. Let's hear from Philip Borovicinen. I wanted to play this a little bit earlier. We didn't get to it, but Philip had a pretty nice ball game off the bench. We mentioned earlier that on the game against Southern on Monday night that Tommy Lloyd got to play his bench extensively in that particular contest. The final 11 minutes, in fact, went to his reserves. Philly got 15 minutes in that ball game, had 8 points, grabbed 5 rebounds, and dished out 3 assists, and was asked about his development as a passer this season.
I feel like when I first came here, and I've struggled a lot with jump passes, and Coach Tommy started talking to me about jump stops, and I think that really helped me.
You guys went from 12 to 3. Any thoughts on just the rank on the polls rankings?
Phil, what was your mentality this weekend and coming into this game? You didn't get in the game at Duke. Tommy said something like that. He felt like he wanted you guys to get a little more reps or whatever to get there. And was that hard to sit through that? And then how did that affect you coming into today?
I mean, I was definitely really happy for our team to win the game. Also hard for me not to get in the game. But I'm just like moving on, Game after game, I'm thinking of every single game to get better and to do as best as I can. Turn a spot in rotation, that's pretty much it, yeah.
I mean, is that kind of what you expected? It seems like you made a lot of progress this year, but obviously a lot of competition to get playing time on this team, too.
I'm not thinking about that, honestly. I'm just thinking about being and doing as best as I can, and that's pretty much it.
DK, we talked about Adama Ball and maybe why he might have transferred. Philip Borovicinen has every right to get in rotations. Last year, they got a couple of transfer guys through the portal who came in and took some of those minutes. And obviously, he didn't get a lot of time, but I think everybody I've ever talked to really likes Philly B's game. He just needs experience. He needs to get in the game, needs to feel the pace of it. And as he said, just, cut down on some of those bad habits like the jump stop before a pass and getting in the air. Airborne passes, never a good idea at this level.
No, and that's something that was something even Adia Barnes talked about with her team, her young players, how they have to learn how to do that when they can get away with that in high school.
Exactly.
But
you can do it.
Get away with that in college.
You can do it, but then when you're going up against people with much longer arms and some height on it and positional understanding of how to play defense at this level, it's much tougher to get those passes off.
Philip Borovicinen, 14 games last year as a freshman, averaged just 1 point and 1 rebound in 4 minutes per ball game, but had a career-high 11 points in the season opener. And, again, having an opportunity to get in there and play a few games, played on the trip, obviously, the summer trip to Israel and Abu Dhabi, and averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds in those 3 ball games, won the 3-point contest.
I was going to say, are we required to introduce him as Red Blue Game 3-point winner, Philip Borovicinen? Is that how that works?
We may have to. Until he gives us another title to give to him.
Yeah.
As we move forward here throughout the rest of this season. But looking forward to seeing more from Philip Borovicinen. Had that really nice feed. We talked about the assists. Had that really nice feed to Keyshawn Johnson in the first half of that Southern game for the dunk.
My observation from watching him since he got on campus is he really is a pass-first guy. He likes to get past the first line of defense and then look for his teammates. So Again, incorporating that jump stop, and because he's got that nice stroke from the outside, he really can use that as his advantage to get space and get inside. And because there's so many offensive threats, I'm sure you'll see more dump downs to key shot after he draws attention from the defense.
Let's hear from Tommy Lloyd, who talked about another one of his young bigs, Paulius Morauskas, the 6'9" wing out of Lithuania, who is kind of transitioning from the 4 position to the 3 position this season for Arizona.
I don't see it here.
Paulius Morauskas, 6'9", has outstanding shooting ability.
Here it is.
Why he is being kind of moved into that position. Here's the head coach on that.
It's obviously a work in progress, but I expected it to be. And I mean, I just know how long it takes the freshmen from Europe at adjustment. And we gotta hang with them. And then the biggest thing is they gotta hang with us and trust us that we have experience in this area, and we're gonna help get them there in a safe, efficient way.
Indeed, and Paulius Morauskas in that game on Monday, he played 15 minutes, didn't shoot the ball particularly well, just 2 of 7, but again, 10 rebounds in 15 minutes is nothing to sneeze at to go along with the 5 points that he had in that ball game.
He's going to be really good, DK, really good.
All right, we got some business to take care of still. Let's find out who that one Bruin that is going to be underneath our skin tonight could be.
Who is today's Pest of the Game? The Pest of the Game is brought to you by University Termite and Pest Control. Check them out at BePestFree.com.
All right, who is that guy, J-Dub? I'm going to go with Jacoby Gillespie because, I mean, in the last game, he had 7 steals. 7 steals. Now, granted, they were playing a Division III team. But still, anytime you can get 7 steals in a basketball game, you're doing something good. So Jacoby Gillespie, who has started all 3 games for this Belmont team. He is a 6'1", 180-pound sophomore guard out of Greenville, Tennessee. In the first game of the season, he scored 17 points, 21 against Furman, and 12 against Barry. So he has scored the ball well in their 2 games against Division I teams, Georgia State and Furman, and again had the 7 steals in the game against Barry. Only 3 against the other 2 teams, but he's got the capability to do it, so he's my pest of the game.
Mr. Basketball a couple years ago, I've seen some highlights, DK. It's a good choice. I mean, he might only be 6'1", but I've seen a few dunks from him, so he's got some athleticism, really nice handles. I like how he gets in the lane. I'll go with the other big guy from that team, and I'm just going to keep it simple and go with Cade Tyson. And I think he was the freshman of the year last year in the conference. The reason I say this is because at 6'7", 210, he's really shifty. He really likes to get into the left elbow, left corner 3, shooting tremendously, 50% above field goals, 90% from the free throw line. The issue here is if you get a guy like that, DK, who comes into McKale and knocks down his first 5-8 shots, that just instills so much confidence in the rest of the team. And so you really got to focus on making sure that he's not comfortable in everything that he does, because they can really feed off of that. I've watched a lot of his highlights, and he's really smooth with the ball. He likes to get into the lane, maybe stop with that 12, 14-foot jump shot. Not a finisher at the rim. So I think that you want to make sure that you don't let him score a lot from the mid-range, and just a good cutter, good overall player. So he's the guy I think is the pass. You got to make sure that he doesn't go off. A lot of motivation for the other teams to start, the teammates to start playing better if he starts going the right way.
All right, those are the 2 guys that we think might get underneath the Wildcats' skin tonight.
That's today's Pest of the Game. The Pest of the Game is brought to you by
I'm gonna
University
do,
Termite and
starting
Pest
lineup
Control.
straight here. We got to get
Visit BePestFree.com. The foundation of a great college basketball team begins with the starting lineup. Today's starting lineup is brought to you by Rockin' K, a master plan community designed by nature.
All All right, here are your starting lineups for the Wildcats tonight. At one guard, Kylan Boswell, 6'2", 200-pound sophomore out of Champaign, Illinois, the Pac-12 Player of the Week. Kylan Boswell comes in averaging 25 minutes for the Wildcats, and again, he's averaging 13 points per ball game. At the other guard for the Arizona Wildcats, it's going to be Caleb Love, 6'4", 205-pound senior out of St. Louis. 9.6 rebounds and 5 assists in the win over Southern earlier this week. Pelle Larsson, 6'5", 215-pound senior out of Nacka, Sweden. He hit 2 free throws with 6 seconds left, scored 12 points in the win over Duke, averaging 13 points on the season. The man in the middle, Umar Balo, 7-foot, redshirt senior out of Mali, averaging 12 points, 6 rebounds in 19 minutes this season. Your forward, Keyshawn Johnson, 6'7", 225-pound senior out of Oakland, California. Keyshawn averaging 15.7 rebounds and shooting 57% from the field. Head coach in his 3rd season, Tommy Lloyd.
That is your starting lineup for today's game. The starting lineup is brought to you by Rockin' K, a master plan community designed by nature.
64-11, Tommy Lloyd is as the head coach at Arizona. That is going to wrap up our program here from Bear Down Friday. We're taking you to the network. Tip-off coming up at 9 o'clock. Thanks to all the folks that were a part of this show. J.W. Madden, Calvin Efon, all the folks out here, Bobby, Jackie, Lisa, and Jesus. Most of all, thanks to you for listening. Enjoy the game, everybody. Wildcats and Belmont coming up next. This is Wildcats Radio 1290.
This hour of the Meridian Wealth Management pregame show is brought to you by Broadway in Tucson, Dave & Buster's Tucson, Dorado Rock, First Choice Schools, The Good Feet Store, Jack Furrier Tire and Auto Care, O'Reilly Chevrolet, Ram Plumbing, Restaurant Supply Store, Right Way Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, Rocking KA Master Plan Community Designed by Nature.